Hello, my name is Adam Shear, and I've been the lead software developer on the OpenBCA project. I'm a principal analyst at Recurve, an energy analytics and software company that builds products devoted to measuring and optimizing distributed energy resources and their programs. And today I'm very excited to be walking you through the OpenBCA user interface. So, for folks who haven't yet, I would recommend watching a separate video that's available that is devoted to the input templates for the OpenBCA. The input templates are where you will enter avoided cost, load shape, and program and measure specific data needed for the benefit cost calculation itself. This video will be devoted to the user interface. So, I'm going to start with a very brief run through of the user interface, which may be enough to get most people their feet on the ground, and then you can kind of intuitively work through all of the features and functionality. But I will also then come back and do a slower walkthrough where I go deeper into each of the features for folks who may want that level of detail. So I'm going to share just a single slide to help us orient to the specific portfolio that is the subject of the example. So one of the key features of the OpenBCA is that in a single run, you can look at multiple programs, multiple DER types. You can even have multiple regions. There's really no limit to what you can include in a single run. And this is for us very important because we want to be able to put different kinds of DERs on an apples to apples basis, all in one place. So in the example I'm going to cover, there are four distinct programs, and those programs cover a range of DERs, everything from efficiency to electrification, load shifting, and there's even a hybrid program that saves natural gas and water. And for this jurisdiction, there are two distinct subsets of avoided costs. In one of the regions, there are no capacity constraints to worry about. And then in the other region, South Junction, there are capacity constraints that increase the marginal avoided costs for several of the electric value streams. So, without further ado, let me go ahead and open up the OpenBCA itself. And for most users, you'll be double clicking an application just like you would open Microsoft Word, and it will open this product for you, the OpenBCA. Right off the bat, I just want to make folks aware of a sidebar that you can click that has resources to the OpenBCA website that has a ton more information, as well as the National Standard Practice Manual, which provides guidance for the creation and execution of jurisdiction-specific tests, and the OpenBCA GitHub repository, which is open source. So all of the code, all of the applications are fully transparent and available to anybody for inspection and for download. So it's an open source project. Now, right off the bat, there are two pages in the OpenBCA user interface. The first page is devoted to just uploading the input templates and executing the calculations themselves. The second page then gives you a suite of figures and tables and filters that allow you to explore the results of your jurisdiction-specific test. So on this landing page, the first thing you will want to do is select your populated input files and upload them. So I just click Browse Files and I can select my configuration file and my program input file. Go ahead and stage those and then hit Upload Selected Files, which will make them available to the OpenBCA. At this point, I can click on Validate Input Files, which will run through a series of validations that are meant to make sure that data are complete and various mappings can happen between things like the avoided costs and the load shapes. We're going to make sure that everything that we can screen for that would cause an error in the actual calculation, if there's an issue that we detect, we will point you to that issue and allow you to focus the QC efforts on your end in specific areas. So in this case, we've passed all of our validations. Now, if, as in my case, I already have an existing OpenBCA run that has populated a database, then I get this message that allows me to say, no, actually, I don't want to rerun. I just want to keep the existing run or back up the output database that exists or go ahead and overwrite the existing database, which I'll do here. And then I can run the OpenBCA. So at this point, the input data is being parsed and organized into a backend format that allows all of the calculations to run efficiently. And after just a handful of seconds, I get some balloons, which is an indication that everything went well, and I can go to the insights and analysis page. Now, here I can view the results and explore the results of my JST. So right off the bat, I get a series of filters that allow me to drill into various subsets of my broader portfolio that I've calculated. Right now, the results that are displayed are for all four of those programs and all of those DER types. So it could be that this is the vantage point I want of just like I am running a large portfolio of multiple programs. What are the cumulative results of those programs? And I can see that I have metrics on total benefits, total costs, net benefits, and then finally a JST ratio. And I think right away I'm going to go ahead and select a specific program to look at. So here, let's take a look at the Small Business Solutions program. Now you'll see these key metrics update, and everything else that I'll show you below is also now updated to reflect only the small business program. So I get some visuals now that help me explore the specific impact categories and value streams. This waterfall chart gives me a sense of where I have benefits accruing and costs accruing tied again to this small business program. So I can see I have only electric benefits in this case, but if I break these down by individual value streams, then I can see I have the cost of energy generation, distribution capacity. I have greenhouse gas benefits, even methane emissions and various capacity benefits, and so forth. And then I have a series of costs as well that lead to my net benefits. Now, I also get this scatter plot here where I can see each of the measures or the programs or the projects, whatever it is you're representing here. In this case, these are measures that I get a benefit cost metric for each of those displayed in the scatter plot. I can also instead look at my JST ratio on the y-axis versus my net benefits. So I just get a few different ways that I can look at these data. Now, I also might be interested in segmenting out this portfolio into the specific measures that are available in this small business program. In this case, I have a couple LED measures, and then I have also refrigeration measures, and I can see those color coded now separately in the scatter plot. So you may see patterns, or you may want to explore patterns among different aspects of your portfolios in that way. So if I scroll down just a bit, I then get a more detailed temporal breakdown of my benefits. So again, in this case, I only have an electric impact category, but I have hourly data. So because of that, I can see how my benefits and my load impacts accrue by hour of day, or I can toggle over to month and I can view these by month of year. Or even I have a portfolio here that operates over a life cycle. So the load impacts of my program are expected to last for about 10 years. And I can see each of those years broken out and how my benefits accrue across each of those years. And on the right side here, I have a pie chart that breaks down all of my individual value streams that are tied to these sum total benefits. So briefly, let's go back to an hour of day view of my benefits. I can also isolate a peak period. So in many jurisdictions, it's very important not just what's happening broadly, but what's happening in a specific peak period that we want to address. So let's say that in this jurisdiction, my peak period are the summer months, July, August, September, and I might butcher these hours here, but I think 16 is 6 p.m. So let's say 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m. And now the graph is showing my benefits and my load impacts only for these peak months, and the gray bars represent specifically those peak hours. The pie chart over here has now updated to give me information that are specific to that peak period. In addition, I can also take a look at specific value streams and the benefits that accrue over this same temporal breakdown. So in this case, I have energy generation. Maybe I'm also interested in distribution capacity, and I can see those specific how benefits accrue by hour of day for those specific value streams. So very briefly, I can scroll down and I see I also have an ability to do some comparative analysis of the benefits or the JST ratio. So here I'm looking at these three measures that were in my program. If I wanted to look at the different like start years. So I have 26 and 2027. This program operated across, had projects installed across both of those years. Let's go back to measure name. And I can also, so I have these parabolic and reflector LEDs as well as refrigeration upgrade here on the x-axis. I have my net benefits on the y-axis. And I can also break this into avoided cost subsets. So I can see how benefits are accrued or even how my JST ratio panned out for these two distinct subsets. Again, North Bramble here being not capacity constrained and South Junction being capacity constrained. And I can really see the impact of the avoided costs being higher under that capacity constrained region of the grid. All right, just one last section here, which gives me a simple breakdown of costs. So I can see that the costs in this portfolio were largely measure costs borne by the customer, as well as some administrative costs. And that's what leads to my cost and benefit ratio. So for users that want to download comprehensive summary information, this table allows you to do that. So these are every single row that you would have entered in the program input file, and every single impact category, every single value stream, every single piece of information really that we can offer you on a row by row basis. You can go ahead and download this and do further analysis if you want, just by downloading it as a CSV via this button. So I'll stop there for folks that feel like that's enough to get started and explore and start using the OpenBCA. For users who want a bit of a deeper dive, let me just go ahead and scroll back up and let's take a look at another one of these programs. So let's look at my Cool Home Comfort program. Now, this is a program that operates in the residential sector. And I can see I have an AC efficiency set of measures as well as a load shifting set of measures here. So let's go ahead and select our AC efficiency measures. And I get a breakdown of, again, my benefits and costs and my net benefits, my JST ratio that are tied to those specific measures in the Cool Home program. Now, these filters are adaptive, meaning that they will update based on previous selections. So you'll notice, for example, that if I clear off these filters, the measure names will be inclusive of all the measure names across my entire set of programs. But as soon as I select Cool Home Comfort, then the measure names themselves are limited to only those that are offered specifically through that program. So you can see how you can start to drill down. So if I select AC efficiency, then I have SEER 17 and SEER 18 options under AC efficiency, or I can look specifically at the projects that were in one subset versus another. So any data that you input categorically in the user input templates will be reflected to you in these filters and made available for you to drill down into your portfolio. Okay, so we have the Cool Home Comfort AC efficiency measures selected. And now I can see if I look at my impact category, I start to have a few more. I have electric, natural gas is now part of this portfolio. And I can also break down my value streams as I did before. I also see that I can look at my JST ratio versus my net benefits, and I see that, hey, a number of these projects are below one. According to my JST, they're not cost effective, and a number of projects are cost effective. What might be driving that? Is there something that I can use to optimize my program based on these results? Well, let's go ahead and start looking at SEER 17 versus SEER 18. Now, SEER 17 is shown in the blue circles. SEER 18, these are the efficiency ratings on these air conditioners, are shown in the green squares. There's really not a lot I can take home out of that. But when I look at my avoided cost subset, I can see, oh, look, if I operate this program in South Junction, every project yielded cost-effective load impacts. And every project in North Bramble where there are not capacity constraints and I have lower avoided costs yielded a non-cost effective result. So I can see right away, hey, this is what's happening in this program. Maybe I need to build a case around isolating the program or delivering the program to a greater extent in the South Junction region of my grid. So that's an example of how you would use this scatter plot. Now, each of these sections has a display mode that you can toggle between figures and tables. So for many users, these graphs might be nice, but you want to do your own analysis or you want to just have the raw data that feeds into these figures themselves. You can click on tables, and now you will see tables pop up that you can download that has the same information that the figures are using to render. So right now, for example, I'm looking at impact categories, so I can see my electric, natural gas, admin, measure cost, and so forth that yields my total net benefits. Or I can toggle to value stream and I can get that more granular rundown, and then I can download that table. So let's go back to figures briefly here and move on to my benefits analysis. So now I still have my peak months and peak hours, but I can also see that I have natural gas as an impact category. So I can toggle over to natural gas and I now get a monthly breakdown of my natural gas, or similarly, I can view this by year. As with the hour of day breakdown, and the electric breakdown, these are now my natural gas value streams. And I can plot these and see, okay, this is what's feeding into, this is what's contributing to my overall benefits. Okay. Um, I think that's most of what I would want to cover at this point. If we look at one more quick example, just to give folks kind of a more thorough sense of things, let's just look at the entire portfolio at this point. And the entire portfolio, if I scroll down here, has a number of impact categories. So previously we had electric and we looked at natural gas, but I also have non-system. And if I click on non-system, I can get an annual breakdown of those. The specific value streams are, they tend to be host customer. I also have a federal incentive for one of my programs that's feeding into my benefits. I also have a handful of delivered fuels that are part of this portfolio. So I'm saving oil, I'm saving propane, and under propane, I can see I have multiple value streams. I have saving on propane supply. I also have a benefit tied to propane environmental compliance. So each of those independent value streams can always be accessed in these ways, along with societal resilience and even some water savings, which if you watched the input template video, you would recognize that as a custom value stream. So I have a custom value stream and that's contributing benefits to my portfolio. So these are the ways that you can slice and dice and drill down into each of the value streams or the impact categories or the programs or measures. Really, we're putting the power at your fingertips here to drill down in the ways that you need in order to gain actionable insights into your portfolio of distributed energy resources. Um, the last thing I'll mention is for users who like these figures, want to just pull them directly into presentations, you can just click on this icon that appears, which will take you to a full screen where you can then save the image directly to your computer. That's an easy way to go about grabbing these images off of the user interface. So with that, I think I'll wrap up. Thank you for your attention. Hopefully this helps you get started with the OpenBCA and running your jurisdiction-specific tests. Thank you very much, everyone, and enjoy.